Hello, in this video tutorial, you are going to learn how to install SQL Server 2012 SQL Server Management Studio by Sachin Sami, powered by tech.prerequisite.com. Let's log on to a server. Close the server manager. On the Internet Explorer, let's open Google. Search for SQL Server. SQL Server 2012. Oops. Yeah, 12. Express Edition. As you can see, second link. Let's click on it. Okay, the page has been opened. Here you can see the version number, that is 11, and the published date, that is 14/5/2012. Now what we are going to do is we are going to download two separate files. One is database engine, which is this one, and the other one is management studio, which is this one. Now this is 64-bit addition, and this is also a 64-bit addition. 132 MB, 600 MBs. Okay, let's click on download. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will pause the video and resume it once it is downloaded. Okay, it has been downloaded. Let's check it out. On the download folder, as you can see, there are two files. One is the engine and the other one is management studio. So let's first install the database engine. The database engine is a core service for storing, processing, and securing data. The database engine provides controlled access and rapid transactional processing to meet the requirement of most demanding data consuming application within the enterprise. Okay, let's maximize this. Here you can see new SQL Server standalone installation. Let's click on it. Please wait while Microsoft SQL Server setup process the current operation. Let's accept the terms and condition by selecting this checkbox. You can also select the second option, which will help Microsoft to improve the product of this SQL Server. Let's click next. Here you can see the include update checkbox is already selected. Now let's click next, and now it is downloading the update, which is 14 MB. Scanning the product updates, which is right now going on, and scanning is completed, and it is now downloading the files, which is in progress. %, completed, and extracting the files. And now it is installing the setup. Okay, now we are on feature selection. From here we can select the features which we want to install in the SQL Server. Let's quickly check it out, the features which we are going to install. The first one is database engine services. The second is SQL Server application. and the shared features. This includes SQL Server Client Connectivity SDK, redistributable features. Now, as I'm using Windows Server 2012, the .NET Framework 4.0 is already installed, and I have already installed 3.5. Now let's click next. Instance configuration. Here we can specify the name and the instance ID for the SQL Server. Now, when we install a SQL Server first time on the server, we do not require to select the instance name. So I will select default instance. If the SQL Server is already installed on your server and you are installing a second instance of the SQL Server, then you have to select the second option, that is the named instance. So for our tutorial, we will select the default instance. As you can see, installed instance, and this is empty. That means there is no instance is installed. So we can select the default instance. Let's click next. Okay, now it's checking for the disk space requirement and it has passed, and now it is on server configuration. From here we can specify the service account and the collation configuration. Microsoft recommends that you use separate accounts for each SQL Server service. Now if you see here, there are two types of services are available. One is SQL Server Database Engine and the other one is SQL Server Browser. Let's check it out, the collation tab. Collation is very important part of SQL Server. If you don't know about it, you should go and read some of the articles about collation in Microsoft website. Basically, collation in SQL Server provides rules, case and accent sensitivity properties for your database. If you don't know about the collation, it is always better to leave it as default. Let's cancel this and let's go back to service accounts. Let's click next. Now we are on database engine configuration. Here we can specify the database engine authentication security mode. Currently the Windows authentication mode is selected and the administrator is already added. Let's select mixed mode authentication, which will provide SQL authentication and Windows authentication side by side. So that means we can use both of the authentication methods if using mixed mode authentication. Let me type my very secret password. Okay. On the data directory tab, you can specify and customize the data directory path if you want. Let's see user instance tab. Specify if user who do not have an administrative permission can run separate instance of the SQL Server Database Engine. By default, users are allowed to run separate instance of database engine. Now let's check it out. File stream. Basically what file stream does is enable SQL Server based application to store unstructured data such as document and images on the file system. By default it is not enabled, and as per the best practice you should not enable if you don't require it. Now let's go back to server configuration tab. Okay, let's click next. Now we are on error reporting tab. You can select this checkbox if you want to help the Microsoft with the error reporting. This will send any error which is incurred without the user intervention. Now I will select this checkbox. Okay, now let's click next. Here we are, installation in progress. Now what I am going to do is I will pause the video and resume it between, so that you will able to see the progress of the SQL Server installation. Now the installation process can take 10, 15 or 20 minutes depending on your server processing speed. Okay, the installation has been completed. As you can see here, all the features have been installed successfully. Let's close this. Okay, let's close this too. And now we will go to start. On the start, you will see the SQL Server components, and there is SQL Server Configuration Manager. It will take few seconds to open. Okay, on the SQL Server Manager, you can see the SQL Server instance, which is MS SQL Server, which is running. So we have installed the SQL Server database engine. Now we are going to install the SQL Server Management Studio 2012. Let's go to the download folder. Okay, here is the file which we have downloaded earlier. Double click on it. Now it is extracting files. It will take few seconds or maybe minutes depending on the processor speed of yours. Now we are on SQL Server Installation Center. On the installation, you will see New SQL Server Standalone Installation. Once you have clicked on it, the SQL Server installation wizard will open. It says please wait while Microsoft SQL Server 2012 Service Pack 1 setup process the current operation. Let's click on show details. Everything looks fine. Now it is checking for the SQL Server product updates. There are no updates for SQL Server found online. Click next. Now once again it is scanning for the product update, which is completed. Downloading setup file skipped and extracting setup file also skipped. Installing setup file in progress. Here we are, installation type. Now I will select the first option, perform a new installation for SQL Server 2012. As you can see here, instance installed MS SQL Server, which we have installed previously. Now let's go ahead with the first option. Let's click on next and select the terms and condition by clicking here, and I will also select this one. It is not required, but I will select it. Now click next. Now on the feature selection, here you can select the features which you want to install with the Management Studio. Now as you can see, we require management tools and the SQL Server client connectivity SDK, which is already selected. Now let's click next. It will take few seconds to process. Okay, on the error reporting, as you can see, we don't require this one, so we will just click next. Now installation is in progress. Now the installation process can take 10 to 15 minutes depending on the server configuration. What I have done is I have paused the video and resuming it between the process, so that you do not have to wait for all the time while the Management Studio is installing. Now as you can see, the green bar is progressing. Okay, as you can see here, the installation has been completed. The Management Studio has been installed. Now let's close this one. And also close this one. There are two ways you can open Management Studio. One is from start and another one is from run. So let's check it out. The run command, that is ssms. Oops. Okay, ssms. Yeah, that is SQL Server Management Studio. Now as you can see, we have installed the default instance. That's why I am able to connect the SQL Server using the system name, that is my computer name. Now as you can see, I have successfully connected. Let's disconnect this one and let's try to access it using a SQL Server authentication, that is SQL authentication. Now let me type it down, the username, that is SA, and the password is my top secret password. I'm not going to tell you. Let's click enter. Okay, as you can see, it has been connected successfully. Now let's close this. Let's check it out using a start menu. Let's go to start, and here is our Management Studio, SQL Server Management Studio. Oops. Okay, let me close this first. I accidentally opened this one. Okay, the password has been saved because I have clicked on remember password. Let's connect this one, and I have successfully connected. So if you like our tutorial, do give the thumbs up, and this tutorial is presented by tech.peterchrist.com. Keep watching our videos. It will be very informative for you. Thank you for watching. This tutorial is presented by Sachin Sami, powered by tech.peterchrist.com.